Hey everyone, today I'm gonna look at all of your March entries and announce a winner. So the first thing I'm gonna look at is to make sure that you have no clipped highlights or shadows. So I'm gonna turn these on right now. It doesn't really look like, except in the eyes, but that's fine. Okay, so in this one we actually do have a few clipped shadows. I know Instagram can make them darker sometimes. So since the clipped shadows are like here in the holes and where the shadows are supposed to be, I'm gonna let it slip because we don't really need that much details right there. However, this part I would like to see some more details, so I'd like you to maybe brighten it up next time, but I think it's fine. I'm gonna let it slip for now. Okay, so in this one we also have a few clipped shadows. Again, it's like in the holes where we don't really necessarily need a lot of details. So I'm gonna let this slip as well. Okay, in this one we actually do have a lot of clipped highlights. The problem with the clipped highlights compared to the clipped shadows is that the highlights actually really draws the attention of your eye. So instead of looking at the dog, you usually look at the highlights first when you first see the picture. So I'd just like you to just be careful and make sure that these highlights are not too bright. Also, if you were editing the JPEG version instead of the RAW, it might be difficult since the highlights were probably blown out already in the straight out of camera. But yeah, unfortunately I'm gonna have to remove this one. So this is slightly clipped. I think this might actually be a JPEG edit, I'm not sure. But yeah, again, I think the highlights are too bright, unfortunately, because that's where my eye goes first when I look at the picture. Also, this vignette is very circular, which doesn't really make sense because we have a light source here from above, but there's also vignettes here from above. But if you have the free version of Lightroom or something like that, you might not be able to do the vignettes manually. But yeah, I'm gonna have to remove this one too, unfortunately. Okay, here we also have a lot of bright highlights. This is one of the really difficult things about snow pictures, that it's really difficult to control the highlights. I think it was pretty bright from the beginning, so that's my fault, sorry. So again, if you were editing the JPEG version, it might be really hard to get those highlights down, but I'm gonna need to be pretty harsh and remove this one. I really like what he's done with the sky though. It's real pretty with the pink. Okay, here we have a lot of clipped shadows, and also, as you can see, the vignette is really strong and circular, which again isn't very realistic, and it doesn't really make sense because again we don't really have a light source from here. We should have a break in the vignette where the light is coming from, but we don't, so it doesn't really make sense. And also, I think overall this picture is pretty dark. We could probably brighten it up, 1.5 stop maybe, and then just pull down the highlights. I don't know, but I'm gonna have to remove this one. Okay, ooh, this is a very dark and moody edit. Again, we have some clipped shadows, so be really careful about that. I think, again, we don't really have a light source. Now the only thing that the light is hitting is mirror, which doesn't really make sense. Realistically, if we have a light source, again, there should be light above her somewhere, and this rock should also be brightened a bit around her, because it doesn't really make sense that only her is brightened, that the light is only hitting her and not the like surrounding or anything. So yeah, and I think overall it's pretty dark. We could probably raise it a bit and then just take control of those highlights. Okay, so now I've removed all the pictures with clipped highlights or shadows, except some that had like a few clipped shadows, but it didn't really bother me. So now I'm gonna look at the crop and composition. Okay, in this picture you've placed her eyes really nicely on the line here. I like that. However, if we zoom in a bit on her eyes, you can see that she's not really looking straight at the camera. She's looking a bit to the left. Therefore, I'd like her to be more on the right side, so she has more space on the left where she's looking into. Yeah, I like that you create a frame here with the tree, but still, we don't want her to be looking out of the frame. So something like this would probably be better. So now she's looking more into the picture instead of out of the frame. In terms of composition, I'm gonna have to remove this one. I think this one is fine. Again, you placed it on her eyes. We could probably crop it in a bit more so she's more centered, because if we go back, you can see that she's like slightly up and towards the left, but really slightly, and it's kind of bothering me because it's almost in the middle but not really. But I'm gonna let this stay. Okay, here I don't think you cropped it anything, so I'd like you to maybe crop it a bit, at least. Maybe use this tree and this tree to maybe create like a framing. I think it's a bit tilted, so kind of like this, so we have a nice framing like that. I could probably push it even more, just something like that. So yeah, next time think about the crop too, and not only like the rest of the editing. So yeah, here again I don't think you've cropped it anything. I mean, this is fine. I think if you would have cropped it just a little bit, it doesn't really need to be much. Even this could be alright, just so she's more centered, because now, like, if you keep it as you had it, she's not centered, but she's not on like one of the lines either. I'd want you to maybe crop it next time. I'm gonna let it stay for now, but I might remove it later. Let's see. I think her face could be more centered, so maybe a bit like this. But I think it's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna let this stay. Okay, here. I'm not sure if you cropped it. I don't think so. However, she's taken up such a small fraction in the picture that like my attention doesn't really go to her, since there's so much going on in the background that's still visible. Yeah, she's not really drawing my attention necessarily. I would probably crop it in a bit more, something like this. So maybe something like that, and then maybe darken here the edges a bit so you don't focus on that and focus only on her. So yeah. I don't know why this is so low resolution. I don't know. Yeah. Again, don't think you've done much cropping. Since there's stuff going on in the background, brighter spots and stuff like that, my attention goes a bit more towards the background than Mira. So again, you could have created a nice framing by just cropping in these sides. Maybe something like that. I think this crop is absolutely fine. Her eyes are not directly on the line, but it's still fine. I think it's close enough. Plus, it doesn't really work for every picture. So yeah. Here again, the crop. I don't know if you cropped it, but again, she's slightly off center with her face. I'd like her to be more centered like that. Or if you crop it in even more and create a frame with a tree. But I'm gonna let it pass for now. So the crop on all of these pictures are fine. So now I'm just gonna look at the general editing. Okay, so here I think you've tried to create a dark and moody forest picture. So again, I would like to see a light source coming from somewhere. Right now, like, the whole picture is dark except for Mira, which doesn't really make sense, because the light needs to be coming from somewhere, and the direction it's coming from would also be brightened up. So obviously this wasn't done really carefully, but you get the idea. So kind of like here, so now you have a light source coming from either above or like slightly in front of her. It's hard to tell, but yeah, technically it would be above because there's sky above. So yeah, that would probably make a bit more sense. I like the pale greens. Here's like a bright highlight. Watch that. So make sure it's not too bright. Probably darken this spot a bit more so it doesn't draw my attention too much. Also, I think her face could be a bit brighter. Just so she stands out a bit more from the background. Yeah, I think this whole area on the stone is a bit too bright, because we want to focus on Mira and Mira only. Kind of like this, but it's fine. The eyes, I'd want the catch lights to be a bit brighter to make her look more alive, and I think it brightened her irises a bit. However, the pupils have also been brightened, so you could darken the pupils a bit more, since pupils are supposed to be black and not like kind of grayish. But I'm gonna let it stay because there wasn't really anything major here. I really like what you've done in the background with this one. I think it looks really cool. So the colors actually fit pretty well with Mira's color. I don't know if you've accidentally changed her color a bit, because I think she's more yellowy. She's kind of like that color maybe. So just watch out so you don't accidentally change the color of the dog while changing the background color. I think you've done some sharpening, which is nice, so she's nice and crisp. Don't think it's necessarily over sharpened. Here also I think you could have darkened the pupils a bit more. I think you've done pretty good on this actually. You have a nice light source here, a pretty nice vignette. I like this. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so here I think you've tried to like add some haze effects maybe. I think while making the haze effect, I think you lost a bit of contrast, so you could maybe add some back more. And just watch out too, because technically if there was like some fog or haze or anything, it wouldn't be on the whole picture. Like here on the foreground there probably wouldn't be very much haze, but I think the haze is affecting a bit here too. So yeah, I would just do this, add some contrast. Let's see, yeah, I think you've worked on the eyes a bit. I think this catch light is really bright, but this is not very bright, so if you could just brighten this up a bit more, that would be great. I like that you've when you added the haze effect, you actually let it slip a bit on the tree, which is logical since there wouldn't be a straight cut where the tree is because the light would slip in a bit. However, this big bright spot is really bothering me. It's drawing my eye a lot, so just watch out for those bright highlights. You really want to avoid those. But yeah, otherwise it's nice. I like this. I like the kind of like sunset effect, kinda. I think here, watch out with the masking, so there's not. You can still see a bit green coming through there. And also, again, watch out for this big and bright highlight. It's drawing my attention again. I think again you could add some more contrast to it to make Mira pop a bit more. But yeah, otherwise I think it's a nice edit. Okay, so these are the 3 pictures that I've kept in. Now I'm gonna choose a winner. I think all of them are pretty nice. I think I'm gonna pick this one because I think it really stands out to me. I really love the background and what you've done with that, and I like that you kept a light source but still created nice vignettes. Yeah, I really like this. I think maybe if you could brighten her face a bit more, like something like that, just to make her pop a bit more, and maybe raise the shadows on this side of her face. So this edit was from penny.shelty_lotta.collie. So congrats to you, you've won my March challenge, even though I don't really like to look at it as a competition, but yeah. So thank you all for all of your entries. April's challenge is actually a photo challenge, and it's about landscape. So for more information about that, check out my most recent blog. Now I wish you all a great rest of the day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!